Hey humans, how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. Please excuse my scraggly voice. I had a pretty bad chest cold last week, so, I sound like this now. I'm just now getting over it. This is episode 175. I recorded it in Los Angeles, and I sat down with Pam in her apartment. There's a lot of extra noise happening. I think I weeded it out pretty good, but you might hear a dog drinking water or the air conditioning or some street noise going by. But that's just a day in the life of Pam. I was told about Pam through a mutual friend, Rich, and he said, you have to talk to her. She's really interesting. She's had quite a life, and indeed she has. And so there's nothing I lie. There's one kind of pretty dramatic thing that happens to Pam, but the arc of her life is not one that's blow your hair back, oh my gosh, somebody's jumping out of an airplane kind of feeling. But to me, it was really interesting because, we are a world made up of people just living their lives. And I think that's important to remember on a lot of levels. She talks about how some events that happened to her, what they did to her personality or how they, made her feel, I should say. And it's just a good reminder that everyone's fighting a battle. We've all trying to get through our day. We're all just doing the best that we can for the most part. I mean, some of us aren't trying very hard, true, but most of us are trying hard to just get through the day and be the best people we can be. And we're all fallible, Anyway, that was a minute of philosophical thought. So she talks about her mom and her dad and her grandparents. I asked her to give me some pictures of her mom and dad, so I'm going to try and get some pictures of her grandparents. But if you want to check those out, I'm going to post them on Facebook and Instagram, so at Hey Human Podcast, so definitely check that out. There is a moment where I screwed up an Instagram address. Pam, there's an Instagram, it's a hashtag, it's not like an @ that is so funny, and we talk about it, but I cut into the episode because I got it wrong, and I wanted to make sure that it was corrected. So to find what I'm referring to, not only will you find it on the links page on heyhumanpodcast.com, but also if you just go to Instagram and you do a search for hashtag passive-aggressive Pam, you will find it. And look for the one that's got over 164 posts. It's hilarious. You won't regret it. Usual stuff, just mentioned social media. So also Susan at heyhumanpodcast.com is how you email me. The heyhumanpodcast.com website is where you'll find the links page. I curate a links page for every episode and things we talk about and places we talk about, books, whatever. That's going to go on that links page. Definitely check that out. A lot of information. Also on the website is the Amazon portal. If you like Hey Human, which you're listening, so that's a good start, and you want to help support Hey Human, please do so by when you shop Amazon, as most of you probably do. If you do it through that Amazon portal on the Hey Human Podcast website, it helps support Hey Human. If you just go through that portal, you shop like normal, and there's an algorithm that says, this person went this way, and it kicks back a couple pennies to Hey Human, which is great. Rate and review Hey Human on iTunes, and that's also really great. I feel like I'm asking a lot, but, doing the best I can, as we all are. I mentioned that earlier. Thank you for listening. I think that's about it. Let's get into it, and here we go. Hi, Pam.
Hi.
Welcome to Hey Human. I was introduced to you through Rich, who he was one of my instructors, one of my teachers at Second City, and he's a tenant here in this building that you manage.
Yes.
And you've been here?
16 years.
16 years. And how long have you been in Los Angeles?
I was born and raised in Hollywood.
Wow.
So.
I bet you've seen some things.
74 and a half years.
70-40. Wow, you look great.
Thank you.
That's a very California thing of you to be, is looking much younger than you are.
Yeah, I'll be 75 in January. I can't believe my oldest will be just turned 55.
Wow.
and the other one's 52.
That's so crazy. I'm going to scooch the mic a little bit closer to you.
And my oldest grandson's be 28 in December, so it's like, where did it go?
Wow. Yeah. And you lived your whole life. Excuse me. What part of town did you grow up in?
Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Hollywood till I was 13, then we moved to Eagle Rock.
Oh, I like Eagle Rock.
I do too. And we lived in Eagle Rock till I was about 18 or 19. I stayed there, then I got married and all that stuff.
And then everything changed?
Yeah, for about 4 or 5 years. I had 2 kids within 5 years. And then I was happily going to get a divorce.
Yes.
Yeah.
And are you married, single?
I've been divorced 45 years.
Happily. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, people say get married. I said maybe in my late 80s. I don't want to.
Do you date much?
I date, but it's just like, been there, done it. I mean, I talk to men all the time and I love them dearly. It's just I have too much to do right now.
What do you do?
I've been a contractor, general contractor since 82. Yeah, I was a general contractor. So I did that, but now I'm working on a house and then I'm taking care of an apartment building over in Bellflower that had water damage. So I took care of that. I just do, people call me up and say, you want to do something? I manage this thing. I manage strip mall over on Beverly Boulevard. So I just stay busy.
Yeah, that's great. That's probably why you look young.
I just enjoy it. If people say it's work, it's fun to me.
Yeah. Tell me some of the funny things that have happened in this building that stick out to you.
One girl was sleepwalking, and she didn't have she had her t-shirt on, and she was just kind of lost. So she came up and I gave her a key to her apartment. Then another one called a long time ago, and she said, hi, I can't remember his name, it was like 10, 12 years ago. Is so-and-so here? I can't get in touch with him. And I said, well, he moved out. She goes, I just want to tell him he's a father. He did not plan on being a father.
Oh my gosh. Did the sleepwalker wake up when she... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she woke up and said, oh my God, I'm out of my apartment.
Yeah. But very nice lady. It's just things, happen.
Wow, that would be scary.
Yeah, she was. It was very scary for her.
Yeah, dangerous.
Because, it's uncomfortable. You don't know, you're kind of disoriented and stuff.
Wow, I'm glad she had the wherewithal to come to see you.
Yeah. They all do. I mean, it's just different things.
Do you become sort of a house mom in a way? Mm-hmm. Whether they like it or not? Or?
I mean, I understand them and I care about them and I have dog bones for the dogs. Because they come up to me and they follow me around and they know I give them dog bones.
Yeah.
So it's cute. There's one girl lived in apartment 316 years ago and she swore somebody was in her closet. And I don't remember her name. She moved back to New York and I said, there's no one could get in your apartment. It's 3 stories up. So she said, please, I know he's in the closet. And I said, it must be Spider-Man or something, but there was no one there.
Oh.
She was scared to death.
Was that something it was at daytime? Did she wake from
At
a dream?
night, she woke up and she said, there's someone in the bedroom closet. And I said, it can't be. You're home. No one, But
although I have read crazy stories about people hiding in the air ducts and things.
Oh, yeah. People have gotten stuck in the pool room. They've gotten stuck in certain places.
Stuck?
They've locked themselves up. They're constantly locking themselves up.
Yeah.
But all the tenants in general are nice. A lot of them came from Second City, from Rich.
Oh, really?
He brought in the crew. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
They're the nicest bunch of people.
Yeah.
They're all very nice.
Oh, good. I've met a few folks. He does karaoke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he invited me and a couple of people from my group, from my class, to go and check it out. And everybody that was there was just really lovely.
Nice people.
Yeah, for sure.
A few times they've done rehearsing down there, and a couple of tenants called because they were afraid they were going to call the police because some of the people rehearsing get really loud.
Yeah, there can be a lot of yelling and screaming and singing and all sorts of strange
so they thought
things.
something was happening. I said, no, it's just they're rehearsing.
Yeah.
So the people been here a long time don't, they like their peace and quiet.
Sure.
But there's at least 20 people moved in.
How many people live here all?
There's 54 apartments, so there's about 150. You figure 2 or 3 in each apartment.
I bet you could write a book.
I've always wanted to, but I just don't have patience to sit.
So when Rich told me about you, he said you have to go check out this Instagram. # passive aggressive Pam. And it's letters you've written to
Fast.
written to tenants and stuck on the walls and the elevators and in the garden. Talk about that for a second, because that cracked me up.
Because I don't understand. When you take out the trash, you don't have to drag it through the hallway to make your trail, because I will find you. So I do. So I put a note there that I found them. And then I said, the person who dumped all the cat litter, are you kidding me? Because it went all over the trash room. So I said, and then another one that threw there, and then when I had all the things shut, I took it to her front door. And she said, it wasn't hers, blah, blah, blah. And I said, just look at the envelopes, it is you. So then she shut the door on my face, and I don't care. And, but they dropped food down the stairway. Why? And then one guy, I said, whoever left the mess, oh no, I called him some name. I said, what do you not get? I put in, and you threw all the food there. And I said, you're a jackass. He called up, he goes, I'm the jackass. And he said it really low. I said, I can't hear you. He said, I'm the jackass. I said, what do you mean? He said, because I left all this stuff there. I said, but why? He said, because I was in a hurry. I said, yeah, but I'm not your maid. I don't mind. I mean,
who started the Instagram with all your?
I think Corey did.
Okay, with all the letters. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everyone listening, go if you have Instagram.
Somebody did it, and they said to check it, and I said, oh my God. And some say,
have you gone to look at it?
I've looked. Well, some people. My daughter looked at it. She said, somebody said that you're a bitch. I said, I don't care. Come over here and clean up this building, and they'll understand me being a bitch. And I'm not a bitch. I care about everybody. I bring dog bones to everybody. I do this and that. People are going through, locked out of the place. I have to stop what I'm doing to come back home and open the doors for them. So give me a break. That's all I ask. Give me a break. But they will make...
The letters are classic, though. They're so wonderful. You're like a combination of a mom that is pissed at her teenage kid and the roommate that is fed up with the dishes in the sink combined.
And I told one that I was going to get a U-Haul for him and take him to the Mojave Desert. And that way he could live the way he wants to live. Or move in a cage. I don't care. But why make a mess? And then it's always... After I clean up the place, they get right behind me, they got to make a mess. So I told one, I will definitely get the U-Haul down the street, put all the furniture, and take them to another city. I don't care. But, nobody says anything. They just, one time somebody threw something, and the guy said, do you have any idea that she has eyes all over the place? She will find you. And it's just, I have fun, but it's the principle of it. Come on.
Absolutely. They're just hilarious. I was tickled reading all of them. So at passive aggressive Pam, and I'll put a link to that. It's so funny.
I've been quiet lately. Somebody says, why is she so quiet? And I said, don't worry about it. I'll be back.
Yeah.
And then I was nice in one, and somebody said, why are you being so nice? I said, I thanked somebody because he did something. And then the clown took it off afterwards. So I said, imbecile. But I'm not your maid.
No, I get it.
I've chased Grubhub people out of here because they go bouncing down the hallway, maybe a bit with coffee, boom, boom, everywhere. I said, where in the hell are you doing? So they have to walk out.
Yeah.
I said, get out. Just go. So. And they say, Pam, I can't get mad at you. I'm having fun. But, it's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. Who was the strangest tenant you ever had?
This man, and when he and his wife moved out,
yes.
He wrote me a long letter about the love he had for me. He still texts me, and I text him, but I said, slow down, Turbo.
Yeah.
Life goes on. You gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not 25 years old, 35, 45, 55. You figure almost 75, and people are just, they're men. I joke around with them. I like joking around with men.
Do you use dating apps?
Mm-mm.
No.
I just meet people in different places, but it's just, I'm not gonna love like I loved so many years ago. It's just, I like the friendship.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I've had friends since I was 13 years old. I still talk to them. I talk to them on their birthdays. I talk to them during the year. And sometimes maybe the wives get mad, but they're my friend.
Yeah.
It's like, get over it.
Yeah. So you have a lot more guy friends than girlfriends.
Yeah.
I understand that.
It's just from so many, I was boy crazy when I was 7 years old. I like boys, at Fine Street Elementary, I had boyfriends.
Who was your first great love?
again, I can't say names, but he is, it was from Vine Street, this kid, boy.
In your block or in your neighborhood?
At Vine Street, at the school.
Oh, okay.
He was my first boyfriend.
Oh.
He was sweet, very sweet, and I've seen pictures of him, and he still looks good.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. Do you ever think about reconnecting?
He's married, and he's a very well-known
hairdresser. Okay.
Yeah, very well. But he's just, he's very handsome. I saw him one time. I've seen him,
Is it Paul Mitchell?
No.
It's the only hairdresser I can think of off the top of my head.
But he's, that was, like my first, and nobody got near him. None of the girls. I would tell them, you don't get near him.
Ooh, were you feisty?
Oh, yeah. I was raised by my grandparents.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so.
How come?
My mother and father were busy.
All right.
Just when we lived on Waring Avenue when I was born, and that was across the street from that El Centro orphanage. Where
I just moved here, so.
I'm sorry. No, where Marilyn Monroe lived there.
Oh, I didn't know she grew up in an orphanage.
Sometimes she was in the orphanage. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's El Centro. There's a different name for it now, but it's on El Centro near Waring Avenue. And I remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, I would go across the street to the orphanage, to where the fence was, and all the little kids. It's very sad. They'd be standing at the fence, and I said, "Can you come out?" And they said, "No, we can't come out."
Oh, it is sad.
Very sad. And they finally had built real tall bushes, so they can't do that. And that was in the 50s.
Wow.
So that was 68 years ago. And this place is still there.
Is it still an orphanage?
It's some kind of a home for fulfillment thing. If you look, it's still there.
I'll check it out.
Right on the corner of
El
Centro. But
my dad went to Hollywood High.
My mother went to Hollywood High.
Yeah, so I need to drive by and look at it. And
it was interesting.
Yeah.
Because I remember we lived across the street. We lived in like 3 courts. And my mother and father, it was weird. My mother and father lived in one apartment. My grandmother, my grandfather, and my sister, me, lived in the other one across the way.
Interesting.
But we didn't, my mother worked for Paramount Studios, so she was busy working. My father was just doing different jobs. So.
What did your mom do for Paramount?
Secretary.
Oh, okay.
She was a secretary. I think she started in the late 40s, 50s.
So you were around when the Black Dahlia murders happened? Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
I remember when people talk about it. I remember I drive by that place where they say all this happened, down on Franklin.
Yeah.
But who knows if it was true or not. My mother worked for Paramount Studios. She worked for Cecil B. DeMille for the 10 Commandments. So that was in the early 50s. So she was part of part of the secretarial pool for that.
Did you get to go in the lots at all?
We went to the lots all the time. We saw Desi Arnaz doing the filming. Filming with the camera, doing that with I Love Lucy. And we'd sit in the bleachers, and then they had that heckle voice. If you ever listen to I Love Lucy, you'll hear a heckle in the background. So there was somebody sitting there that always did, ha, 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 laugh. But we saw Eve Arden, December Bride, Danny Thomas, all of them.
Oh, Danny Thomas. I love Danny Thomas.
Yeah. A lot of them at Desi Lou Studios. It was fun.
Did you want to be an actor when you were a kid?
What did I want? I just wanted to have fun, be a kid. I liked being a kid.
How did you come to be a contractor?
My lovely father, in 1976 or 8, he was doing construction on old apartment buildings for the community redevelopment. So he asked me to come back and help him. So I worked with him for 2 years, and it was just so hard. I mean, he would just have me do things that most women don't do. Tear out the kitchen counter and it's full of tile and lath and plaster. And I'd ask, and he'd say, "Go get me a 2x4 and a 4." I said, "What in the hell is he saying?" So I said, "What are you talking?" He'd say it one time and then start screaming. So I learned quick, just to do. So then when about 2 years later, I said, "I'm going to be a contractor." He said, "You'll never be a contractor. Never." I said, "Okay," got that over with. And then I moved to Laguna Beach, and I worked with this girl, and we did before the houses, you move in, they have to do the carpeting, clean the windows. So we named my company Lady Godiva. So we would clean all these things, and I watched all these contractors, and I said, I definitely am going to be a contractor. So in 82, I studied and everything. I went to school, Lumblow, some school, and got my contractor's license in 82. Then I said, I'm going to get my engineering to work on the freeways, and I got that. And then I got my hazardous about a year later. So I have all 3 licenses.
That's
I
so
can
cool.
remove underground tanks. I worked on Caltrans on the freeways for about 2 years.
Did you find there are issues because you were a woman? Did you have to deal
Bad, nasty. Whew.
like what?
Well, the building inspectors would corner me in elevators. And that was in the 80s. They don't do it now, but they did it then. And then I said, if I do something to you, that means I got to do it to all the earthquake inspectors. I said, I'm not going to do it. And we were in furniture companies where there was a freight elevator, these big freight elevators. And I just stood my grounds with all of them. Caltrans, the same thing. Big harassment. They just, they said, you want to be a female contractor? Okay. And they really tortured me.
How did you get through that?
I just stood up to them, though I argued with some of them.
You seem like a pretty tough broad, though.
I mean, I dealt with something in the community. It's just when I was walking and I was doing a job in Lancaster, and I stopped and one of the Caltrans employees bumped into me. I said, do it again. I dare you to do it again. And I will remove certain parts of you.
Oh, wow. Were you part of the cleanup during the big earthquake? Was that 89 that happened?
It was a big rip-off. Because a lot of them were hired to do chimney work and all that stuff, and they were basically, none of them had a contractor's license. They were just going in there and ripping off people. So it was a big scan. I was doing enough with the earthquake. Then I did post offices. So I built about 6 or 8 inside post offices.
Interesting.
Yeah. And was harassed by them, the inspectors there too.
By postal people?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I did. I had a punch list, and it was like 50 some things, and then I did them. He said, I'm going to give you 50 more. I said, really? So I called him names. I never worked for the post office after that. I'm not going to be treated that way.
No, absolutely.
And it was hard work. Doing the post office, all the interior and some parts of the area were not the safest, so I didn't have to. I proved myself, and a lot of them said, you got balls, lady. And I said, I've worked hard for them. I enjoyed working. My kids, when I started making money, had a good life, so I was divorced. I was married at 64 and divorced, 64 and divorced at 69, 70.
So a pretty short marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Was that?
Because I just didn't want to be married.
You just didn't want to be married, or because
I had enough.
You're an independent person? No,
I wanted to be happy.
And he wasn't the person. That happens.
Yeah, it's just he is what he is. I'm glad for the kids. And basically I wanted kids. So I have, my 2 kids, and it's okay.
So Rich had mentioned that you had a boyfriend die you were held at gunpoint, and
it was an acquaintance, and I had do you know where Highland and Willoughby is?
Sure.
Okay, that where it's a Starbucks. I built that. The old gas station was there. It was an old Gilmore gas station in the 40s. So I rented it, leased it from the lady that owned it. So I put like that, when you see them drive through there, I built that for a hand car wash, so it had that canopy. So I leased it from the owner in 91. And so we put it together. It was called Beamers, and it was cute and everything. And then, let me see what happened. In between 91 and 92, I had a hysterectomy. Then in between that, on March the 6th, it was, I met somebody. And I'm not going to, anyway, I met him, and then I didn't talk to him for a while. He went out of town, and then he came back. And he said he was going to come by with some of his friends, March the 6th.
And this was a romantic somebody, an acquaintance?
Just an acquaintance.
Okay,
really.
yeah.
And March 6th of 92. So he came over, and 15 minutes later, I get a phone call from his brother saying, have you seen him lately? And I said, yeah, he's here. And so 15 minutes later, the guy came to my house and rang I just bought my beautiful condominium in Hollywood. It was so pretty. And he buzzed it, and my friend says, oh, let him in, it's okay. I said, yeah, but rumor is that he's going to kill you.
Why did you know that rumor?
Because somebody came into the car, my business, was talking about him and stuff. People would just walk in and say so-and-so, so-and-so.
Yeah.
And just people got together. And so I told him, and he said, no, it's not going to happen. So
this is his own brother?
His own brother's, but his own brother got paid, I guess, from the guy that shot him. It was like, you let me know if he comes over there.
Sure.
And we'll take care of him.
Wow.
So 15 minutes later, the guy buzzed, and then my friend says, okay, it's okay. And I was there, and two of his friends and him. So the guy walks in, and my friend gets up to hug him. They were elementary school friends from another country. They were very good friends. And so my friend hugged him, and my friend said, what's your problem? And he said, I want something about money. To this day, no one ever knows. But he pulled out a gun and shot him in the stomach.
Point blank.
Point blank. So, and then he kept making him go, walking backwards while my friend was holding him, and he walked backwards into my dining room. He shot in the kitchen cabinet. There's a bullet hole there, and then he shot him in the neck. And killed him. Then I ran into the bedroom to 911, and his friends one ran in the bathroom, one ran into the closet. And so he yelled, yelling at them with a gun, telling them to come out. And then he told me to get off the phone. And I remember holding his hands like that. And I said, I just became a grandmother, as if he cared, because my first grandson was like 3 months old. And
you're holding the assailant's hands?
Mm-hmm, yeah, and he had that pearl handle gun in his hand. And he said, give me 15 minutes to carry him out. Are you kidding me? He was a big guy. What are you going to do? He hit the thing
artery,
where the blood was going everywhere. So then he ran out, and then the other two guys ran out, and I called the police, and then Hollywood Police Department came, and he wouldn't turn himself in. Johnny Cochran represented him.
The assailant?
Mm-hmm. And he got off.
Because Johnny Cochran got everyone off.
Johnny Cochran was good in his day. He was so good. I mean, he could whatever.
Even though there was an eyewitness that saw it.
There was 3 witnesses. 2 witnesses went back to the country because they were told, you better go back or you will die. He put a contract out on me. And then I moved out. I just left my beautiful condominium and moved somewhere to Orange County.
They didn't keep track of you?
I don't know. I went to court all the time. For 1 year, we went to court.
So even with an eyewitness, they couldn't?
Beyond a reasonable doubt. Who else did it?
Right.
I didn't, but it really screwed up. My whole being was all messed up.
How do you come back from something like that?
I don't know. I had PTSD.
Yeah, I would imagine.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And I moved to Orange County, and it was hard. It was. Everybody just kind of stayed away because they didn't know if he was going to find me or whatever. Because he would come to the condominium and start trying to get into the building. Not him, but one of his friends. So after 1 year, he was not convicted. But 10 years later, he hung himself.
The assailant?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard that. Somebody came into this carpet store I was at, and I said, what are you doing here? And I said, whatever happened to so-and-so? And he said he hung himself at his apartment over in Franklin Avenue.
Wow.
10 years later. It's just, it was the PTSD really. When people say it's not real, it is real. Because there's certain things you just can't be around. Like Home Depot makes me out of my mind. It used to. It's better now. Because I went through something about 9 months ago and worked through that with a therapist.
What did you do?
I was in a car accident. And the same thing happened where when the guy hit me, I was going down Melrose Avenue, turning left. And I watched him, and he was going back and forth, trying to get out of the lane that wasn't moving. So as I was going by, he banged into me. So I turned into the gas station. I started yelling, to come over. And he goes, it's your fault. And all of that came back.
Oh, man.
All of that thing. I said, I was a wreck.
I bet.
That memory of that same thing with that gun. So I went to therapy within 6 weeks. I don't know how this woman did it, but it's gone.
Did she do the rabbit eye movement one, or?
No, she did a lot of the breathing and doing this and certain things and talking through it. and dealing with other things. And then when I was writing it, I said, I'm fine. She goes, okay. And then the next paper, she goes, you're not fine. She goes, you need therapy. I said, okay. So it was six weeks of it, and it was like a number 30, like high up, whatever, that score of not, being right. And then after 6 weeks, it was a 3.
So 30 being really PTSD.
Yeah.
And then, oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and it's like, and I said it's weird because I tasted some whipped cream. It was so good. And I've tasted food that's so good. She goes, Pam, it was always there. It's just with PTSD, it's so down there that you can't deal with it. I never realized it.
Wow, so she said that when you have PTSD that normal things, that even sensories aren't activated. Wow.
It's so weird. I mean, and I was not, and it's the weirdest of the weirdest, I was not a huggy person. I mean, people would come up and hug me and I'd hug them. Now I hug people. And I said, it's from like clearing whatever was there that I don't know was like a block wall. I don't know what it was.
She sounds like a good therapist.
She was so good.
Is she here in town?
Glendale.
Can we say her name so that she can get some more clients?
Heck yeah, her name is Zima, Z-I have to get her card. She was so good. I said, she goes, this is the last time. I said, no, it's not. I'm coming back. She goes, you're done. I said, no. I said, I swear I'm going to come in here drunk and delirious and you'll have to see me. She goes, don't do that to me. So, but she was good.
Well, I'll make sure to put her info on the links page so people can.
Yeah, she was so good. I mean, I felt so bad. I really missed going there.
Yeah.
She said, unless, she says it was because of the insurance. It was because of the car accident, the insurance, that I met her. And I told the insurance, that attorney, I want to go see her. I'm comfortable with her. And they said, yeah, but you can't. I said, I want to see her. So that was that. And I dealt with other things with family and all this other, stuff that's whatever. But it was just really, at 74, I just want to be happy. I was happy, but you just want to feel like everything is kind of okay.
Do you think you had some stress left over from being raised by your grandparents instead of your parents?
Oh, no. I was so happy being with them.
Yeah?
I didn't want to go with my parents. I was crazy. I mean, we lived on Cole Avenue, and where the DMV is now, is on Cole Avenue. So we lived in a 2-story house. Grandfather, my great-grandmother, and my great-grandfather, who was a tad bit a little different. And then my grandmother would have pregnant girls staying there.
Oh.
She had 3 or 4 15-year-old girls that would come there, and they were pregnant. They would stay there. And my grandmother had 3 or 4 kids that she'd babysit. One was blind. One was another, 4 kids. I mean, I don't know where they found my grandmother. So it was fun. I loved coming home to the kids. I loved my elementary school. I just liked life.
When you say your great-grandmother was a little strange, what do you mean?
My grandmother, if I sat on his lap, she'd throw me off his lap.
Really?
Because she said he gets too excited.
Oh, was he a pedophile?
No, he just liked, women. He liked girls or whatever the hell. But my grandma said, don't sit down. I said, okay, whatever.
Interesting.
Who knows about all that, crazy shit went on. You don't know.
Is your family Italian? You seem very...
Jewish and Irish.
Okay, well, Italians and Jews, same thing. I feel like it still has that very boisterous,
When I was 13, my grandmother bought a 2-story house, 2-story duplex, whatever you call it, in Eagle Rock. And so she said, your mother, you're going to be a family. Heck, I didn't want to live with them. I was just happy.
Did you go? Did you end up?
I did, but I said, I don't mean to be nasty. I didn't call them mom and dad. What for? I love them. I'm glad they brought me into the world. I'm glad they brought my sister into the, but I had nothing. I talked to my mother maybe 50 to 40 times in my life.
Huh.
My daughter, thank God, was very close to her. My daughter was very, very close to her, my oldest.
Was close to your mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it made up for it. I said, Stephanie, I'd like for you to be close to her. I wasn't. I was close to my father, but not my mother.
Why do you think that is?
We just had nothing to talk about. There was nothing.
Yeah.
I it's not that I don't have any good memories of her. It was like out of sight, out of mind. I liked my grandparents. My grandfather taught me arithmetic. He showed me had his coin collection. It was fun,
I assume they're not still with us, right?
No, but they were fun. I mean, it's just, some people have regrets of, wait, my mother and father didn't raise you. Sometimes it's for the best. Don't get mad. Be happy, I mean, sometimes people go to places, but, there was not a lot of love. I remember my father would come by Vine Street when I was in kindergarten, and he'd whistle. He had a certain whistle, and that was like to say hello or something. And he meant well. He had a crappy upbringing himself. He had a mother, and the father would always just leave, and he had 5 brothers and a sister.
Are you second or third generation American? Or fourth?
What would I be? My mother and father, my grandmother was, my father was born in Boyle Heights, and my mother was born in Arkansas.
And their parents?
My father's mother was born in Odessa, Russia.
Okay, so you're second generation. Yeah. I figured it was probably pretty close
Odessa.
to that. Yeah. Were you around then during the Manson era? Do you have any stories about that?
I just remember Sharon Tate and all that stuff. And at that time it was very sad, and how Roman Polanski and the whole thing was just so weird. And it was Doris Day's son that was kind of, involved in something there or lived there before Manson. I remember on Waverly, up the street around, this where the house was. I think they finally tore it down. But it was in like the 60s. But it was something where I was 19 years old.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a time in your life when you really remember things going on around
I remember the Manson murders, and everybody was so crazy, and how Sharon Tate, she was so pretty, and and the coffee guy, I can't remember it's just a lot of wealthy people, and it was just a bad time.
There's a lot of serial killers that moved through California in the 70s and early 80s as well.
Just like that Hillside Strangler, the one that he had a body shop in Glendale right on Broadway.
For cars?
Yeah, and he was part of the one, it was Bono, I don't remember the name, but it was 2 guys, the Hillside Strangler.
Were you scared during that time?
Very few things scare me.
I can see that.
I just know that, I just feel sometimes when I worked on Skid Row and it was dangerous, I know that, I really believe in angels. There were 2 big guys. It must have been one on one side and the other, because I was threatened. I've had things thrown at me. I've had, it's just going up the stairs, and you had a lot of different nationalities living there, and they'd hit you, they'd slap you on the butt. It was scary. I'd have to move I did earthquake work, I'd have to move some of them away from the wall, because that's where we did the work, and they could have been nasty, but sometimes that's their territory. So you kind of find the leader of the pack, and he kind of takes care of you. So if you bring him food or bring him cigarettes or something, he kind of watches you. Watch me.
Skid Row has gotten very intense.
Yeah, now it's nice. Now it's got the lofts, it's got all the, the beauty.
Oh, I was talking about the street that has the people in the street. There's that one row that is just tense.
Oh, yeah, it's near Salvation Army.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
But where are they going to go?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. And the weather here is good for if you're going to,
Yeah. It's very sad, but some of them, like my second grandson was autistic, and a lot of them, I think, had autism. And I don't think anybody knew how to treat that or care, or just thought they were, just crazy little kids. They weren't. They needed help. But it was, I just remember certain things. I remember when Marilyn Monroe was killed. She wasn't killed.
OD'd, yeah.
She didn't OD.
You don't think?
Never will I think that.
You think the Kennedys?
Was so set up.
Yeah.
It was set up.
Why do you think that is?
Because once she sang, God, happy birthday to you, she was a dead duck. That's how I feel.
Who do you think did it?
I shouldn't say.
Really?
That's
this much time gone by, you don't?
I think Jacqueline Onassis.
Really? You think Jackie had her
I think
off?
she was just, she was embarrassed. You know, I think, you know, this woman was, I mean, Jacqueline
Blatantly.
was a top-notch. I mean, she was a class act.
Yeah.
And for Marilyn Monroe, and Marilyn Monroe just wanted love. You know, she didn't want any more than that. But she messed around with the Kennedys, Peter Lawford, that whole crew. You know, and it just, I think it was a jealous woman. It wasn't, you know, they fired they said, I remember they saying they fired her masseuse, they fired this and that, they fired all of them, you know. And
All of Marilyn's?
Marilyn Monroe's assistants and everything. Peter Lawford, you know, that's what they say in the papers many, many years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah. Will I get in trouble saying Jacqueline knows?
No, not at all.
That's just how I feel.
I mean, firstly, you're allowed to have your own opinion. Secondly, I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
So,
But some people have it saying that it was, she killed herself. There's no way.
Why do you think she didn't kill herself?
Because I don't think she was strong enough to do that. I don't think she
Interesting.
wanted to die. I mean, Joe DiMaggio loved her. I mean, and he still, I don't know, to this day, he still, you know, takes the flowers. Have you ever been to the Forever Cemetery?
Is Joe DiMaggio still alive?
No, he died a long time
but
ago.
he brought flowers to her grave. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't think, I think the one she was married to in New York, I can't remember his name, I don't think he was very nice to her.
Arthur
Yeah.
Miller, the playwright. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just don't think he was, you know, she was just like, she was harmless. That's all I can say. She was just a harmless person, you know, but she met, you know, she was never going to end up with the Kennedys. Mm-hmm. So it was tragic, you know.
Did you go to any of the big Hollywood scenes when you were growing up?
My mother did. I mean, she knew. I mean, she knew a lot of producers. She met William Holden, and she met you know all the different celebrity actors that came to Paramount Studios. Debbie Reynolds, all of them.
Because Paramount was huge.
Huge, yeah, huge place. So she would meet them. You know.
You didn't have any interest.
Stephanie was a baby. You know, I had Stephanie at 19 and Kimberly at.
You were 19 when you had your first child.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie's 55 now.
Right.
And the other one is 52, so...
That's a child raising a child.
Uh-huh. But I always wanted kids, so it was okay.
Wow.
It's something I wanted. I've lost 2, I would have 4.
How did you lose 2?
One was a tubular pregnancy,
Okay.
and the other one was just, didn't happen.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So, I mean, but then to raise 4 kids by myself, that would have been hard.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
How have you seen California change? What do you think are some of the most dramatic changes that you've been around?
I think the people.
How so?
Because I don't think a lot of people are very nice. You know, they're very rude, and they're texting and they don't pay attention, and it's like they're so isolated. I mean, why can't you just still talk to people? You know, that's because I talk to people, but people are just into their own little thing. You know, and I think they treat a lot of older people. I'm part of the gerontology at USC, so I go to the meetings there for seniors and everything, and I'm always interviewed about, have you ever been harassed or verbally abused by younger people being a senior? No. But a lot of seniors have. That one woman that was in the bus and they started throwing things at her, she was a senior citizen. Really mean to her.
That breaks my heart.
Very mean. You know, and some of the kids are just not very nice. I've seen it, you know, so, no.
I don't know what's happening.
It's very sad. It's just there's no respect. You know, I mean, if I'm walking in sometime to my hangout, my donut place, and some group, some guy walks out, and the door goes in my face, and I call him names. I said, you really are a pile of shit. What is your problem? No respect.
Do they respond?
They don't say anything. I mean, I would kick them if they did. I like to kick. No, but I mean, it's just like, don't treat me like I'm an idiot.
I think that the youth in general doesn't realize that eventually they won't be youthful anymore.
Right.
And one day that they will be older, and
Yeah, and pray to God that they look good, because a lot of them are hunched over now.
because of the phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them,
And they have lungs of 7-year-olds because of the vaping.
yeah.
It's crazy. I feel that the people who are 18, 19, 20 years old now in another 10 years are going to look like they're 80.
Fast forward, all of you are going to get old.
Sure.
And I see people, I remember, and my Led Zeppelin, all of that crew, and they're old. All the sex, not sex, it's just drugs, and it's like I didn't participate in it.
You didn't do any of that stuff?
I don't like to be controlled by something. So I just,
Did you see your siblings? You have a brother and a sister?
I have a sister.
You have a sister. Is she very much like you?
Complete opposite. She was very sheltered. My grandmother kind of kept her, because she had her, the famous story, she had her appendix out when she was 3. And every time when she came home from the hospital, I wanted to try to walk, have her walk. And so my grandmother and grandfather they'd go in the other room, and I said, come on, walk. And I said, don't cry, because I'm going to get in trouble. And she would walk a little, then she'd cry. But, she was just very sheltered. It just was completely different.
I'm always fascinated by that, when siblings turn out so different from each other.
I was very protective towards her. Anybody messed with her, I'd go after them.
You're a tough broad.
It's just the way and when you're raised by grandparents and you have no discipline.
You didn't have any discipline?
None. Oh, yeah, my grandmother one time, because I made my sister cry, she said, go outside and get a switch. You know what a switch is?
Yeah, a little stick off a tree.
Yeah. So I did it once. She hit me. I said, this is a bunch of crap. Not doing it again. So I did something, and she gets the switch. I said, I got on my little Schwinn bike, and I zoomed up Cole Avenue, turned left on Willoughby, and went to Sam's liquor store and got my bubble gum and just cruised back. She goes, you remind me to hit you. Oh, okay. But there's no discipline.
Did you do well in school? Yeah.
And I had really good handwriting, so they'd always ask me if we did menus, like cooking, cooking. She goes, you do the cooking ones. I said, okay. You write the recipes, because she doesn't have good handwriting.
What was your favorite year of life, excluding this year that you're living in right now?
You know what? Every year was fun, even if it was bad. Even if it was a lot of tragedy and sad stuff.
Did you have a particularly bad year?
There was a few men that I've been with that died.
While you were with them? Not literally, but
around them. From like 18 years old. No, 22, 23 to 35. 7 of them.
7 people died. What happened?
Overdose. One, I found him he had died. His mother called me and was looking for him. I said, he's, I think, in the guest house. She said, it smells so bad there. And he had been dead 18 hours. And he was sweet when he was okay, but when he was on drugs, he was a mess.
Was it heroin? Or?
It was heroin in those days.
Sure.
And it was another one died of cocaine, and another one died of, put a magnum in his head.
Suicide.
I don't know what he was thinking. I wasn't with him anymore, but we lived in Orange County, and he just, I don't know if he realized he might be, I don't know what the hell. I wasn't with him anymore.
He might be what?
Gay.
Okay.
So it bothered him. Maybe it bothered him because he was so macho and everything. But they called me and said that he had put a magnum to his head. 27 years old. They were all under 35. And it was sad. It's like, I don't tell anybody 7 have passed. But it's just, and it wasn't like I was around them, but I was just their friend or a girl, whatever. But it's 7 of them.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of men.
It's a lot of death for being so young.
Yeah, and it was sad.
It's interesting that you didn't do drugs, but you were around people that did.
I didn't drink or do drugs. And people would say, I'm going to turn on the light. And people would say, why not? Because I didn't want to. Because I liked my life, and I didn't want. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't want anything to control me, and I had kids, and I said, I'm not going to look stupid in front of kids.
That's true. Being such a young mom, I imagine that would certainly.
It's a big responsibility, and we were divorced when Stephanie was 5 and Kimberly was 2.
I'm glad that you had that wherewithal, because a lot of parents don't, and they just do whatever they want to do, regardless.
No, I'm still getting the wrath of God from one of the, from the younger one sometime, but.
For why?
I didn't do this, I didn't do that, but life goes on, I know what I did. I know I was a good parent. Maybe I met different people, but from 25 to 30, you're going to meet different group. In the 60s, you don't know what the hell you're meeting. So I met them and life goes on.
Do you feel you were a parent more like your grandmother? Or?
Grandmother would tell my mother to jump down the stairs to abort me. Yeah.
Interesting. My grandmother told my mother the same thing.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, she said, just jump down the stairs. But surprise, surprise, when I was born, it was like 18 hours in labor and all this stuff, but my eyes were wide awake, wide open. And I had some things they had to put that ice, on my, what do you call that ice? It's really dry ice, or no, the stuff that burns, because I had 2 scars from being the labor and everything.
Sure.
Was it dry ice or something?
Yeah, you're talking about, it's the stuff that, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Frozen nitrogen. Liquid nitrogen. There it is.
No, I don't know. No, it was ice. It was.
Yeah, but liquid nitrogen feels cold to the touch.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So. But, and it's not that I didn't like, we had nothing in common. Nothing. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to therapists and talking about what would you like. I said, I wish my mother would have hugged me. And I said, I don't even know why that came out, dealing with the murder, how that came out.
Well, it's interesting that you said until you released that PTSD, that you weren't a hugger and now you are.
Yeah. So it's just kind of weird. I mean, I make a point of it, and everybody says, you hug now. I said, oh, yeah, it's fun. It's just weird.
Had your mother suffered trauma that you're aware of?
She was kind of mistreated by my grandmother. My grandmother never
the grandmother that raised you?
Yeah, never wanted kids.
Okay, I think I got confused. So your grandmother was the one that didn't want kids, but
both of them did.
Oh.
Both of them, my mother and grandma. But my grandmother would tell my mother to jump down the stairs.
Yeah.
But my grandmother, she always told my mother to call her Marie.
And not Mom.
Yeah.
And yet your grandmother raised you. Mm-hmm. It's very strange.
Completely different.
And did it well.
Yeah. So she made up for it in a way,
Fascinating.
She wasn't huggy. My grandmother did not hug. She did not kiss. But she was there. And maybe because people, many years ago said, well, you're not affectionate. It's not that I'm affectionate. It's just you were not brought up with that. Certain things. I mean, I remember hugging my kids and this and that, but I wasn't overly, because it was just something was foreign to me.
You're also of an age group where that's the norm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honestly. I mean, I think that, just set aside the years of the love and the hippie in the 60s and 70s, just because what year were you born?
45.
45, so...
Yeah, so that was in the...
Historically, not a touchy-feely time frame.
No. And my sister was. She was touchy-feely, she was very close to my mother. And my father. She would lay all over my father and I'd look at her and go, I don't know how
many years apart are you?
3 years.
So not even that much.
But she just was very close to them.
Did your father serve in any of the wars?
In Germany.
World War II? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that affected him.
Yeah. But my father just let everything just kind of, as he said, roll off his head. He just went along with things.
As a Jewish family, Jewish-Irish, you said, as a Jewish family growing up, witnessing all that stuff.
He didn't practice any Jewish.
I understand, sure, but there's the heritage of being Jewish. Along with, there's the religion of being Jewish, there's the heritage of being Jewish. Knowing what was going on, how did that affect your family at all? No.
No one ever talked about it. I have pictures of them. I have a picture of my father when he was in the army.
Yeah.
He was handsome. He looked good. Yeah, and my mother and father, very handsome couple. Very handsome.
Were they in love?
They really loved each other. They fought all the time. I asked my father, how do you put up with her? And he just said, I'm like a duck. It just rolls right off. So he was very loyal, very devoted to her. He just loved her. 65 years they were together. When he got sick and had a stroke, and he was in Glendale Memorial Hospital, and they took all the tubes off of him, everything. They said he'll be gone, probably in a few minutes. And I said he won't. He's going to wait for my mother. She's going to see him, and then he'll leave. And very sad. 2:15 the next day, I took her in there to see him. She kissed him on the cheek, and a tear came down, and that thing was going like that. And at 2:20, gone.
He waited.
He waited for her. And you could tell...
The The tear.
Wow. That was sad. Very sad. And my mother she couldn't live without him. After a year, she died.
That's very common as well.
And she really didn't die of anything. She just missed him.
She was ready to go see him.
Yeah. When I go see Psychic, she says she's still dancing in front of him. She liked to do her little Egyptian dance. So he says, your mother's doing her little dance in front of him.
Without any provocation, Psychic told you that?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, the one that, he just passed away, but she says, your mother says she's sorry. She's very sorry. She was not a good mother. And my father said, my father would the whole time I was there, my father would turn off the lights in the living room. He goes, did your father have a thing about lights being on? I said, he hated lights on. She goes, because he keeps turning off the lights. So, this guy was really good.
He's not around anymore?
He died about a year ago. It was good.
How'd you feel about your mother's apology, posthumous apology?
I said, that's nice. It's not long overdue, but it was okay because I understood her. She was happy just being her. She traveled a lot. She didn't get a lot of affection from my father. He kind of was, kind of condescending to her sometime. So it's just, they had their life. She loved Paramount Studios. She loved to go to Playboys or Oblats and drink. He would come home and watch TV. That's the way it was.
Your mom would go to Playboy and hang out?
Not the Playboy.
The club?
No, the bar across the street from Paramount Studios.
Oh.
Yeah, it was called Oblats, okay, some bar. She liked to go there because she had her friends there.
Sure.
She liked that. She never went to play. No, none of that.
Oh, my first boyfriend in college, his mom worked at the Playboy Club.
How funny.
She had great stories. I wish I had gotten her on.
Is she alive?
Is she now? She passed quite a long time ago.
She probably had great stories.
Yeah, she did.
My mother was, she worked for Paramount Studios. I don't know if she did something else. I don't remember. But I know she worked at Paramount Studios. A lot of them were in the USO. A lot of the women, were in that USO and stuff.
As a person who's been around through a few wars, how did that the Vietnam era?
That was sad. That was very sad because a lot of kids that I went to school with
died.
They died.
Yeah, sure.
And they came back so messed up. And it was sad. It was sad because for what? There's still, a lot of them are messed up. A lot of them will kill themselves.
Yeah, the suicide rate among veterans is
sad.
Insanely high.
Because they just they weren't treated good when they came back.
No, the aftercare has a lot to be desired. That's an understatement. Yeah.
They just didn't care about them. And it's like, they went, and a lot of them, not that they even lost limbs, it was more of depression.
Sure, well,
they were killing little kids. They were just,
I've said this before on this show, and that the fact that they send troops through a boot camp or military people through a boot camp for a few months to prepare them, and there's no aftercare. They don't send them through another 3 or 4 months of let's help you get from where you were now back to society again.
No way. They just didn't.
They don't do any of that. And I know the VA does what it can, but it frustrates me to no end.
In those days, they just didn't pay attention to it. They just thought in their head it would go away.
Right.
It would just go away, and it didn't go away. And it was, there's some kids that I knew from high school. They didn't come back. I told my grandson, I don't ever want you to go in the service. You don't have to fight for this country. This country, I don't even know what the hell they're doing. So.
Yeah, it's a bit of a madhouse these days. Yeah.
But it's been an interesting life.
What's one of your most happy memories of being in California, being here?
When I was in construction. Having the kids and all that stuff was fun, but being in construction, I liked it. I loved it.
Building things. And when you drive around town, it must be very.
It's different. Everything is so different.
Yeah.
Downtown LA is different.
But some of the buildings you worked on are still here.
Oh yeah, they're just lofts. Very expensive lofts now.
Yeah, but you wish you would have bought some of those.
But it was just a different time. Certain places I go to, like in Eagle Rock, has changed so much. You know, I mean, at one time they didn't have all those restaurants in Colorado Boulevard. No way.
There's a really good restaurant on Colorado that I like. Lemongrass, I think it's called. It's good.
Casabianca's good too.
Yeah, I don't get over that weight. I live, on the other side, so I don't get over that weight. I'm in Laurel Canyon area.
But it's good. Then they've been doing stuff to York Boulevard, Figueroa, Highland Park that they never bothered with.
There's some really wonderful. I love this neighborhood.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice over here. A lot of people walking around. It's good for younger people.
Yes.
This building has a lot of younger people. And you can meet people. You just walk around.
Sure. And I like the, it feels old school Hollywood in this part of town.
Right.
Which I like.
And they dress up and they do whatever.
Yeah.
It's just everybody has their own little thing.
Yeah.
It's cute. I mean, it's just funny to see couples and they're together, and then some of them that broke up in the building, and the next day the father's coming in or the mother, and they're taking the stuff out. I told you, but then it's like, oh God.
I bet you see a lot of that.
The minute they're sitting on the brick in front of the building, crying. I said, what is happening? We broke up. I said, aren't you glad? She goes, no. I said, he wasn't nice to you. I don't know what you don't get. I watched you, the way he treated you here. Then 3 months later, she's skipping along on Franklin Avenue, happy with another person.
Yeah.
So I say, cry for 5 minutes and get it over with. You'll be fine.
I think that's a good philosophy.
It is, because you learn. I just feel whoever you're with, you learn from them, good or bad. And then you say, this is what I don't want or I do want. And I've met a few that I don't want, but you have to meet the ones. It can't be all great all the time. So I said, you meet them, and there's a reason they come into your life.
Absolutely, I 100% agree with you. I mean, you won't learn what it is that you require or what feeds you in love until you've realized what kills you and starves you in love.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think many people. We are a planet of 7 billion lonely people, and people would rather be with someone that is ill-suited for them because at least it's a warm body. It's an unfortunate thing.
But it's sad because you're settling.
I know, but I think when people are lonely, it feels at least like something. And some people aren't good with being alone.
There's a lot of people who don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
But there's so many different places you can go to talk to people. I mean, you can go to a restaurant and sit at the bar, at the counter. And
yeah,
meet
that's
people.
The best. I love doing that.
You'll meet people, but I mean, everybody says, "Are you alone?" I said, "I've seen couples alone."
Absolutely.
I've gone places where they're not talking.
Yeah.
He's reading the paper, she's reading the paper, and there's nothing.
Well, there's something to be said for people that are so well suited that they can go and don't have to say anything, and they're reading their paper, doing their crossword, or some, whatever. But there's a difference. So you can tell the couples where they have had it.
Oh, yeah.
They're not interested in each other whatsoever, and that breaks my heart every time.
It's very sad, and they do it in front of the kids. Every time I go to the donut place, and you see some couples, and they are not speaking. Get up, let's go. And it's like, wow. And these little kids all feel to blame for everything, and they're not to blame for the parents. The parents should just leave. I mean, if he does something or she does something once or twice, it's going to continue.
And it gets worse as people get older.
So
whoever somebody is, that's who they are times 1,000.
They're not going to change. No. But I'm glad I've learned all this, because there's a lot of women my age that are looking for men online or paying money, like the Catfish or whatever it is, where they pay money to, for this. They're out of the countries, and they say, well,
the catfishing of it's sad.
And it's sad. And if you don't learn all this stuff younger, you could fall into. They've spent $100,000. You see on Dr. Phil how much money some of these women have spent on it, and then they find out this man is married and he's living in Burbank somewhere. So I understand that women are lonely, and I understand it.
So are men. People, humans.
Men too,
people are just lonely. And
but I don't understand how some of them have been married 35 years, and they say they're so lonely, but they're not going anywhere.
Because fear is a very powerful force, and they're afraid to be alone, or they're afraid that they won't have somewhere to live or enough to eat, or won't be able to pay their bills, or There's all sorts of things. And also, I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are raised up in environments where their concept of what love is, it already from the get-go is unhealthy and unreasonable and ill-suited, and they don't know because that is what love was for them.
That's the only thing they're used to.
Yeah.
They're used to physical abuse.
Or mental, or no nothing, you know.
Yeah. I just gave a bunch of stuff to this woman that works at drops off stuff to a shelter, you know, and they have a lot of women there with their kids. And then I gave them a bunch of blanket sheets and stuff, and they said because when they leave, they're not going back to the husband, boyfriend, they're going to an apartment or somewhere, and they need all this stuff.
Sure.
But sometimes women are gluttons for punishment sometimes.
Well, again, I think they're equating love with something.
You know, that he loves me.
Sure.
You know, by, you know, this and that.
Touch is still touch, even if it's violent.
Exactly.
And that's unfortunate, but that's just the facts.
No, when somebody touches you, when you know I love you, okay.
For people that don't align with that, it seems insane. But, you know, that's why therapists have so much work.
Yeah. And they can usually get it resolved, but some women, it's just their upbringing.
Yeah. And what's hard is the children that are in those situations, because what the children are learning is that bastardized version of love. And then they will just likely repeat it themselves.
And they do.
Yeah.
Unless they get smart enough to say, you know what, I don't want this.
I think that's why you spoke earlier of the people that are in their phones and that ill communication quality that humans have. And I think that we are so lonely, and we're so angry, and all these things. But we don't start with ourselves, right? If we can be mad at everything in the world and yell on Facebook and yell at our phones and do all that stuff, then we don't have to touch the pain.
Right.
The minute we get quiet, that's why people don't like being by themselves. They don't want to get to that quiet spot, because then they start hearing the things in their head, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's true. I mean, and it's just, I guess I can't relate to loneliness.
I get lonely sometimes, but I actually very much enjoy my own company.
Yeah.
My thing that I think is so funny is when I meet people, I think, a guy or a girl, and I say, oh, let's go to a movie, or if there's a group getting together, let's do this or that. And I think people think that you're sexualizing them, or you're trying to hit on. It's like, okay, we can actually have a conversation or go get food without me trying to have sex with you. It's called friendship. It's called, you know,
very hard work.
But people are very uncomfortable with that, with connection on so many levels, and it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what city you live in. I think that the idea of connecting, that vulnerability, is terrifying for people.
Or even to say hello. Well, you know, they get afraid. It's just hello. It's not, I want to take you out for a stroll. It's just, hi, hello. But they just get funny.
Humans are weird.
Yeah. But I just, they are. Sometimes they just get, you know, I watch them. I mean, I was very observant. And I watch people and I said, wow.
Yeah, people watching is the best. I love it. But it does get sad sometimes. Because
they're all wanting to be something they're not. And it's just like, I don't know, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Pam, thank you for your time and your stories.
What do you do now?
With this? I'll go home and I'll take out a couple, if I can, lapping dog noises and coughing attacks that I had. And there's one now. Excuse me. And put it up on the World Wide Web.
And then what happens?
They listen to it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How funny.
I would love to get from you as well a photograph. It would be fun to get one from you as a younger person, 19, 20, and then now, if you have it. Just I think that would be fun for the poster.
Shoot, I have it, but it's in my car.
Oh, you don't have to do it right this second. Just, send it over to me when you can. I'll give you my email.
You want to see a picture of my mother and father?
I do. I would love that.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Oh, wow.
He's a nice looking guy.
Super duper handsome. He looks like a movie star.
He was handsome, and that was them when I think they were 60s.
Oh,
so they were
so
very
cute.
handsome couple.
Gosh, your mom looks She looks familiar to me. Isn't that interesting?
Fun.
Aw, they're cute.
They've been gone 11 years, my father, 10 years from my mother. Yeah. A very handsome couple. I mean, I liked their genes. I was blessed with nice genes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so.
May I snap with my phone? I'll take a picture of this before I leave. Yeah, really cool. She sort of looks like my friend Kim Virant. I'll have to show you a picture of Kim. Does she have red hair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Red hair and freckles.
Yeah.
My sister had the red hair and freckles too.
So cute. Pam, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sign off. Bye, everybody, and thank you for listening.
How cute.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Rate and review Hey Human on iTunes. Thanks.